Time now to say hello to our guests, bringing some Friday fun. Please welcome Tom Davis, Annie Mac and Nick Grimshaw. Come on, look at these nits! Now, look at this situation.
Via a jumper shot.
I like it. It's like the traitors with kind of colour and glitter, isn't it? It's good.
Pass the fit check. We'll talk about traitors the whole time if you want.
Yeah, we could do all our work now.
I'm obsessed.
Same.
Listen, but first, I want to talk about Wonka, because, Tom, I've got to say huge congratulations.
Thank you.
What a brilliant film. And yesterday, nominated for a BAFTA.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is insane, yeah. It's a very small part of that, but yeah, it's phenomenal. It's an amazing thing to be a part of. It's been incredible. It's just I think it's the size of it and the amount of people that sort of got in touch who've watched it. It's a very uplifting film. Yeah, very proud to be a part of it.
I mean, my favourite story, though, Tom, from your time on Wonka, is the fact that, you know, the set's so magical and lovely, and then Tom gets there, day one, destroys a bit of scenery.
They gave us a tour on the first day there, and they were sort of showing us round, and they showed us into what was a sort of chocolate river, and it had a marshmallow bridge built across it. And me and Olivia sort of turned up, and I was like, oh, this is amazing, look at this. And I started walking across the marshmallow bridge and just went through it.
6'7".
Like 22 stone. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I thought you could walk across it. Well, it's made for Timothy. It's made for Timothy. It's made for a man who weighs 8 stone, not a 22 stone beast. And then there was a sign put up for ages, and Timothy didn't realise it was me who broke the bridge. And it was a sign saying, do not walk across, especially if you're a giant. Just live underneath it. It was crazy.
It's a good story.
You mentioned your partner in crime in the film, Olivia Colman. Absolutely brilliant, the two of you together. Let's have a look at the moment that you try to woo her in that extraordinary outfit.
Have you done something with your hair?
Maybe not.
What are you doing all the way over there?
Keeping my knees warm.
Oh, why don't you come over here and have a glass of gin?
Why don't you come over here, where it's all hot?
Oh, my Lord.
Oh, brilliant.
I mean, what a love scene.
I know, yeah. It's the romantic arc of the story, yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, mad to do that with Olivia.
Fiona's just written in and she says, I have to say, Tom made Wonka for me the only time I remember laughing out loud watching a film when he came out in this later. I was in.
Yeah. I thought I looked quite hot, but it was actually the struggle was trying to stay in. They kept on breaking. And ripping as I was wearing them. So it was just.
Well, now you're just showing off.
Well, yeah. There was someone on Legos and what. It wasn't. Yeah. It was more sort of. Yeah. Oh, okay, let's leave it. Yeah. Let's leave that to people's imagination. Made me blush now.
You are blushing a bit, but you know when you do a film, there's this thing, isn't there, called a table read. Yeah. And that's when basically the actors sit around a table and they read the script. And apparently everybody in it had to like sing the bits they were singing as well, which I would die if somebody made me do that. But apparently Timothy sang Pure Imagination, the big song, and you got quite emotional.
It's an amazing thing because it's the first time you sort of hear and feel that movie and sort of see it. You meet all the other actors. I'd sort of met Timothy because we were sort of two of the first people cast, so we'd sort of had a couple of weeks in rehearsals, and I was sitting next to him, and people have been singing, and at the end of the movie, obviously, it's Pure Imagination. Yeah. My daughter was sort of due to be born any day then, so I was sort of emotionally a bit all over the place. And he starts singing, and then I just can't control I feel tears coming down my face. I'm like trying to hold it together, like biting my hand, and before night I'm like having a full, like emotionally just sobbing. And he's just going, you okay, big man? And I'm like, no, this guy. I felt, I had to run to the toilet, sort of like I'd just been dumped in a nightclub in 1998. Just Olivia Colman running after me, going, he's going to be all right, he's going to be all right. The scar all down his face.
It's a huge compliment, though, for Timothy, isn't it?
Yeah. Not so much for me. Yeah, I broke sets and I was known as a big crybaby.
It sounds like you and Timothy got a really nice rapport going, because the two of you hung out quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big difference in lifestyle. You know, I came from a building site, and he's arguably one of the best young actors in the world. It was an insane thing. The first day we met, like, sort of we were on set, we both come out of our trailers. Mine was significantly smaller. And he came out, and it's like 1,500 people just waiting on the curb just to get a look at him. And people were just shouting, you know. And I was like, man, this is insane. And he was like, bro, that's just life. I was like, no, that's your life.
That's your life.
I couldn't even repeat the stuff that people shout at me in the street. Yeah, and from there, yeah, we had a lovely years and still sort of pals and hung out a lot. I didn't really realise who his missus was the first day that he turned up on set. Yeah, I had no idea who that was, and my missus shouted at me for that. But yeah, he's a lovely young man, very humble, very decent. Yeah, pinch yourself kind of stuff.
Well, Wonka is nominated, as Lauren said, in one of the film categories. Oppenheimer is in there. Controversially, Barbie, nowhere to be seen in the best film category.
Yeah.
Now, Nick, what did you make of Barbie?
Well, I had a horrible cinema experience a few years back. I saw a mouse in the cinema, and it put me off cinema as a medium forever. I was just like, it was on the wall, so I couldn't go back. But Barbie was the film that got me back into the cinema over the mouse issue. I did enjoy it. But I think the hysteria, you know, everyone talks about a film forever and you think it's going to be the best film you've ever seen. I fell for the hype. So I did enjoy it. Yeah. But I agree with BAFTA.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, there was a lot. I sort of agree a bit. There was too much. I enjoyed it, but too much hype.
I loved it. I loved it. Tom, you don't look happy.
No. I enjoyed Barbie. No, I enjoyed Barbie. I thought it was great. I love this time of year. I think that my film of the year, I think, was Scrapper. I thought that. I don't know if you've seen Scrapper.
It's such a great
film. Scrapper is literally. I thought it was brilliant for what it stands for. I think Charlotte Reagan is like a visionary as a young director. That was the one that sort of stayed with me ever since. Really, I thought that was just a beautiful bit of cinema. I think it was incredible.
Well, before we start behaving like we don't film 2024, I think we're going down that road. We'll talk about your tour, because you're back on tour. Let's just remind ourselves of you in action at the Apollo.
Love is different when you get older. There's a time, you know, it's about small moments. I don't think Love Island will be truly Love Island for me until I watch it and I see a woman waxing a man's back. It's a true testament of love. That's when I knew I was in love with my wife. The first night I took off my T-shirt in front of her and she smiled and looked at me and she said, "We're going to have to do something about that."
So the tour is called Underdog, and I mean, given that we've just been talking about you hanging out in the trailer with Timothée Chalamet, it's not exactly a straightforward title. How come?
I think I've always felt, even in that situation, I thought of like a bit of imposter syndrome and a bit of an underdog. And I think sort of coming into sort of the world in which I came into this industry so late, I think I was 31, 32. And from my background and building sites, I think I'd always felt that sort of life was sort of navigating, it was a bit of a failure. And sort of I'd failed at nearly everything I'd ever tried. And I think that actually sort of almost, when you get into this industry, makes you sort of almost bulletproof, really. You just, because you've got to get used to that. And yeah, I don't look at it as a negative being an underdog. I think it's a kind of sort of quite a fun thing to be. And the stories and the tales, and they're often me as a butt of the joke, and I find them quite hilarious. And I sort of, that's the making of who I've become, really. I'm always looking for a marshmallow bridge to fall through or a song to cry at. And I think that's fine in life. I think we can sometimes, as men, we can sometimes get a little obsessed with not showing that side of things and not being vulnerable. And I think that's actually sort of, that's all who I've always been.
And of course, the difference between, being on a film set and then performing stand-up live is like you can see your audience. So I wonder what kind of crowd comes to see you these days.
It's a very working class crowd. It's sort of and I'm proud of that. It's one of the things that when I decided to go back on tour and I'd taken quite a long break, I'd sort of always wanted to keep the ticket pricing down because I realised the people that were going to come and watch me were people from sort of indicative of where I come from, I guess. And I think I find it a big thing for me is on the basis that we're in a sort of cost of living crisis. So it's a big thing for people to spend that money and come and see you. So for me, for that audience, I'll make sure it's the best night they're going to have out that month for 2 or 3 months. I'll make sure I put on a hell of a show. And I think that's the thing that I'm most proud of. Look, Wonka's incredible, but to put on those shows night after night and hopefully give everyone in that room something to talk about for the weeks after, that's something I can always be very proud of.
You mentioned you had quite a long gap. What brought you back then after, was it 6 years, wasn't it?
6, yeah. It was like having a daughter, I think having a child and sort of like quite an important person. My godmother had passed away and I sort of really realised I got so inside my own head. I was very fortunate. I had Ramesh, I had Flo, who's my agent, and a lot of people sort of just saying that you should go back and do this. But it was kind of, you got to make the decision yourself, I guess. And I think for me, it was just realising that actually it's not going to always be perfect. I was always beating myself up, and I just think, actually, you know what, to get out there and just have some fun with it. And that's been what the show is, actually. It's been so much fun to get out there and just be in front of an audience and have a laugh. And actually, when the wheels come off and it falls apart and I get things wrong, that's almost the best bit of it all, you know, because then the show changes every night and it's a bit different. And I think then it's unique and everyone in the audience can go, oh, that happened that night. You know, the microphone's all broke or the lighting system went down. We watched the show in the dark, which is actually a blessing. Yeah, I think that's the thing. And yeah, it's been a really great decision. I'm very happy and proud of the show.
That's why we love live telly, isn't it, Al? The many surprises.
The things that go wrong are the best bits, aren't
Yeah,
they?
always.
Always.
Really are.
Yeah, let's see what happens now in the next 15 minutes.
Tom's sticking with us. Thank you for Tom. Tickets for Tom's tour Underdog, which starts next week, are available now.
Still to come tonight, we've got more from Nick and Annie about the latest music news before they get completely sidetracked, which sounds like quite a good title for a show, doesn't it?
Now, how about some music chat with two experts to lift our spirits, Nick and Annie. Now, the pair of you, you've been friends, it feels like forever, but Nick, tell us exactly how you met in the first place.
We met when Annie was working at Radio 1 as... You were on air then.
I was a DJ, yeah.
You were a DJ,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was working at a record label, like posting CDs to radio stations. So I did that first, and so I remember sort of meeting you, quite excited to meet Annie because Annie had started doing Thursday nights and I was working at a label and, like, you know, our aim would be get someone like Annie to play one of these songs. And I met her at Glastonbury and was dead excited to meet her and thought it went well. And then when you'd left, I'd put on like terrible, like pink, tacky glasses that were funny. And then when I was like, oh, Annie, and then talked to her seriously about the music industry for 10 minutes, then I was like, see you later. And I was like, oh no, I had them on. So that was
Just
our
for the
first...
record, I don't remember any of it.
Yes.
That's
good.
I don't remember things. This is my problem.
Yeah, but we met...
There's a lovely photo to show.
2004 or something? 2005?
Yeah. And then we met again at a pub.
Yes.
And you confessed to me that you'd always wanted to be on the radio.
Yes.
And I was doing a show on Sunday nights on Radio 1 and I suggested that Grimmy come in and do like just a little you know, bit of the show.
Yeah.
And then that
The
turned
news or
into
something.
a co-host, which turned into the breakfast show, which, you know.
Yeah. So do you take a cut from Nick every month?
does.
I should,
Yeah.
I should actually. I'll speak to his agent.
Yeah.
Get some back pay.
So you've come up with this podcast and it's like based on text messages that you've exchanged between you. It's called Sidetracked. What can you tell us, Annie?
Well, it's basically based on our friendship, which was something we've always wanted to work together since we both left Radio 1 recently. It's kind of how do we be together on a work level? And we have this WhatsApp group called The Goss with our friend Amy, shout out Amy. And that is the place where we go to discuss all things pop culture, you know, to interrogate anything, any Twitter spats, any new music videos, any award shows, like anything that's happening in the world of pop culture and music, we will go in there and discuss. And so we thought, how can we make a podcast that is as real and as authentic to who we are as friends as possible, that we can just go in and just rant at each other.
Have a goss.
And have a goss. And that is Sidetracked.
Well, yeah, because it's like we've hacked your phones. It sounds like that, like you're just literally chatting to each other.
That's a compliment.
Yeah.
So is that why it's
thank
called Sidetracked, Nick?
Well, yeah, because we wanted to sort of anchor it in music, because we love music and we've always worked in music, but also we didn't want it to be too newsnighty. We didn't want to be like, this week, this person's song's out. So
A good example of that is something we're discussing this week, which is what major pop star has eaten a baked potato in their life?
Yeah.
Go on.
Oh.
So we just wondered...
Has Beyonce ever eaten a baked potato?
No.
You know.
No, we think no way.
That's sad.
No.
Not a chance. It's a
remember-
sad life she has.
I remember
no,
talking
it's
to
not a good
Arcade
life,
Fire
but-
about baked potatoes.
Oh, yeah? Have
but
they had one?
I think they've had
Yeah,
one.
they would
They've
have
had
had
one.
one.
Okay, good, thank God. But yeah, it's Sidetracked is because it's the destination is music and this week's music news, but will we get there? I don't know.
Now, a good example is you two talking about getting I can't even say the word, a tattoo at Kate Moss's 40th birthday party, matching tattoos.
Oh, no, that was a story about Annie Nightingale, because we talked about...
Oh, yes, sorry, that's this week, isn't it?
this is this week.
Yeah.
So we did a celebration of Annie Nightingale's
Yes.
life, and someone that Annie and I, you know, always loved on the radio and also had the joy of working with and getting to know in Radio 1. So we told all the great stories of all the great things she did in her music career and all the, you know, great bands and art she celebrated. But we also thought it was an opportunity to share some really great, funny Annie Nightingale stories.
Definitely.
Because she has the best stories.
The best stories.
The best stories. So we talked about the time she went to Glastonbury, sat in the back of a lorry, started talking to someone, a few hours passed, the doors opened, the lorry was in London. So we tell that one. We heard.
She came out of the lorry in Ladbroke Grove.
Yeah, wow. Didn't know it was in motion. We heard a story from Annie herself about going to Glastonbury in 1990, and we talked about various parties that we took her to, and how one story was how, Kate Moss's birthday party, Annie Nightingale was there in her 70s, and at about 2 o'clock in the morning, at the age of, I think, 73, decided, let's get a tattoo.
Why not?
And we just loved the lesson in that, because I woke up with the tattoo like, oh my God, what an idiot. Why have I done that?
Where is
Whereas
it?
Annie Nightingale woke up like, that was brilliant. And I was like, there's a lesson in that, you know, you can still be 73 and get a rogue tattoo if you want.
I refer you to my colleague's supplementary question.
It's so rubbish.
Come on.
It's really like...
Let's
It's one of many now, isn't it?
It's like this
So
little...
take away the letters.
Yeah, this
it's
little
those two.
heart here. So it's not
Oh,
really
that's
like... It's not really a tattoo
So
where you get it
love
out
it.
on the telly and go, wow.
No, but it's a good story
both.
though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great story.
Lovely.
I mean, just left its mark. Thank you both. You can listen to Nick and Annie's podcast, Sidetracked, on BBC Sounds.
Yes, thank you very much to all our guests, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye, have a great weekend.